Alright guys, Scump here and I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. It's Championship Saturday here in Dallas. Only 4 teams will remain by the end of the day. Which 4 teams will they be? OpTic Texas, the host of the tournament, will have to win 2 matches today if they want to make it through to the Championship Sunday with Skies on a day where, yes, Skies had an okay performance yesterday, certainly in the latter half of the series, to warm up in the tournament so far. There was talk about maybe even Scump could have been the man to return to this team. Dashy potentially joked about it to Hector. Hector asked the question. Scump said for now that is not going to be the case, but every time there is some drama with OpTic, Scump is always talking about a potential return. Not the case this time, and hopefully for OpTic's sake, not necessary this weekend. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into. There was some big drama and challenges yesterday. I know that it was a bit of a nightmare there. They are setting up the challenges venue in the hotel just over the road from the actual venue. It's a better approach than what they had last year for the World Championship, which was, I mean, if you guys were in attendance, I'll just sort out some of the coloration here. There we go, looks a little bit more natural. Last year they held everything in the concourse really alongside the main venue, and for challenges champs it wasn't really ideal. So they've hired a spot over the road and they've got this big like conference room basically where they're hosting the challenges out of. But apparently the power draw from the PCs in that one room, it wasn't very happy, and therefore the PCs were really struggling yesterday to even run. I know there was lots of talk as well about the actual quality of the product that the players were being forced to use, as in the PCs they're using in challenges are like really old, and that's not helping either. So it's not exactly been smooth sailing in the challenges pit, but you know, there's been passion there for sure. Bance was talking about how this Encourage guy has insane PR, people are watching him shoot bots, and you know, obviously Octave was talking about it as well. So we'll see how things go for the rest of the weekend there, but I know that there were huge delays yesterday. There was a bit of drama yesterday, so if you guys remember the Wilf family, they're involved with Wise Ventures, Gary V, Minnesota Rocker, that type of group. Now, what's interesting about this is that G2 kind of merged with Minnesota Rocker, and now that initial group, you know, version 1 were also involved, and now investing in G2 as part of a funding round, which, you know, maybe shows some confidence here, which is kind of interesting just because Jake Hale says about 6 months ago, G2 were apparently considering leaving COD after just a year, which isn't really a great sign. We've talked for the last couple of years here that there is interest in getting into COD, which there still is. I don't think that's disappeared. But the idea of an organization like G2 coming in with the Minnesota Rocker and then considering maybe pulling out of it entirely isn't really a great sign, especially at a time where there are certainly other organizations that aren't 100% sold that staying in COD is going to be the right idea in the current format. So yeah, just one thing to keep in mind there. But of course, Minnesota Rocker, they continue to under-deliver. I mean, the last few years, they have put together teams that really should have been capable, I think, of making the World Championship. At least the team should have been, you know, able to do so, and failed every time. And this year, it looks like they might do a similar thing again. To whom, wishing him and his family the best. He tweets this out yesterday. We apologize for not, you know, playing at the required level. Today was my last fitness challenge for an unknown period of time, and effectively it seems like he's stepping away from competition due to his, you know, father's ill health. So wishing his father a speedy recovery, and it looks like Dahum's going to be stepping away from the lineup. What Falcons do anyway is a big question. I know there was talk before the major about, you know, maybe they'll keep Exnid, they'll try and get Kicks back in. They'll do a couple of things to make substantial changes to the roster. Maybe, I guess we'll see. Who knows what the outcome will be there. But, you know, a lot of teams, of course, already eliminated, including the Ravens. So top 8, I mean, it's not the absolute end of the world, but top 4 at Major 1, top 8 here. I mean, look, they obviously took down the Falcons in losers, but they lost to Surge, and now they lost to Thieves. But I think the way they lost is the more important thing, because again they played Thieves and were not even remotely close to actually winning anything at all. And I think that's potentially the question for Ravens, especially with, you know, Gwinn and the questions online versus on LAN. It's not like they're going to get rid of Gwinn, right? But it's more like, this team, is it good enough to do what they want to do in a LAN environment? Is this team good enough to win an event? I mean, I think they are if they can win every single search and destroy. but this weekend their search and destroy wasn't really there. So I know there's been a couple of questions. You know, I think Vivid's actually done well for this team, definitely, but, you know, Kenny is available. We know that Slasher, Tej, and Ken have had some success together before. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think I would do it, but, you know, maybe the team needs to do something, and what would you do? Slasher's not going to go, he's the captain. TJ's not going to go, he's been, you know, maybe their best player from a consistency perspective. Gwinn is their most talented player, and Vivid's been good too, but you know, maybe if the team isn't good enough, they have to think about what they might do. Then again, they're still comfortable in the standings, they're still going to make it to the World Championship, so it's probably not the end of the world, but it's certainly not the result that they were looking for. Minnesota Rocker, though, it kind of is a bit of the end of the world, certainly the end of the line for probably one or more of their players, because, you know, Rocker after Major 1, they weren't great, but Poor Legs played a bit better, they decided to run it back, and, you know, Octane was cooking them for this last night and saying that I don't know why these guys keep wasting events and qualifiers. There are obvious roster changes that need to happen, and you know, it might be time for Paul to go, because he had a 0.5 on day 1, he had a 0.6 on day 2, and, you know, maybe that's going to be it for his time on this roster. I guess time will tell. The fortunate thing is for some of the other players is that Gio has really been cooking. I've been impressed by him so far. Nero has kind of been nowhere lately, and, you know, we talk about Nero being inconsistent. I think he's actually just been consistently underwhelming lately, Nero, rather than having like the old stellar series and then the old stinky. I mean, it's been pretty bad. Estriel has been their best player. Gio on LAN, to be fair to him, has actually delivered like every single LAN that they've played. This remains true, and I know that they've not played the best teams necessarily at these majors, but still Gio's been impressive, so he's not going to be going anywhere, but the team has surely got to do something. But let's talk about OpTic Texas, because this I thought was pretty interesting. These are OpTic's, you know, players' debut tournament placings. Pred's first tourney, he came 3rd, Kenny's first tournament was 3rd, Ghosty's was 2nd, Shotzzy, of course, and Illy, they won it, famously. Prolute has the weakest with a 6th place, then General and Hook as well with similar numbers, Ghosty with 2nd. But, you know, no OpTic player has ever debuted, at least in, you know, recent memory, with a real underwhelming weekend performance. Skies will be trying to ensure that OpTic continue to make a run, and, you know, this situation does not necessarily change. Another team in a shambolic state, of course, is the Gentlemates. Gotago was also on stream, basically laughing at the team, having a full collapse yesterday, and, you know, it was not a close series against the Toronto Ultra at all. This team's in a complete shambles. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't even know what they can do to try and fix it right now. It's funny because when the season started, it kind of felt like a lot of the teams at the top were going to be pretty competitive, and I still think that's true to some degree, but there are some teams out there right now that are just absolutely horrific. Also for Gwinn, I know we've been talking about this a lot on the show, Trey being the most, you know, the winningest player, as they say in the Ravens history. That is now no longer the case for Gwinn, given the fact that they beat Falcons yesterday, but, you know, taking this record on a Falcons series, I don't know if it really counts. But yeah, still congratulations to Gwinn, now the winningest player in the history of the Ravens, so congrats, I guess. KD leaders for day 1. I know that it's not really on after day 2. It's not really a massive deal because OpTic played one series with Shotzzy at a 1.55, Dashy at a 1.4, Drazah sitting there with a 1.39 after their victory in the first round against the Minnesota Rocker. But also, it's not like OpTic made Rocker look good or anything, right? Like, they also slammed them, really. So it's maybe it says a little bit something about FaZe. I still think FaZe will be really good, but it's not like FaZe destroyed a team on day 1 that ended up being pretty good in losers. That's not how it turned out. This is a clip, though, that we gotta share during that series towards the end of the day, with Hector was talking about the situation with Scump as he stepped off the show. Scump actually made a comment on stream the other day. He was asked the question, hey, would you have come back? And Scump says, plead the 5th, plead the 5th. And when he said that, I thought, okay, it probably means that there was at least a conversation there. And according to Hector, Dashy texted him, and presumably I think Dashy's tweet is a bit of a joke, or like his message is a bit tongue-in-cheek. I don't think he's been 100% serious. But Hex at least asks the question, because I guess why would you not really when you are, like, when it's the king, right? And we know full well that if Scump wanted to come back and play in that OpTic team that was struggling over the last few weeks, I think there's no doubt they would have been better with Scump. Would they have been good enough with Scump? Is it worthwhile? I mean, who knows? I know that there's many out there who would like to see Scump return just for one tournament, right? Just run it back one time. But I know that Scump thinks an awful lot about his, you know, like, legacy and not wanting to, not tarnish it exactly, but playing one extra tournament or even coming back for a little while would, you know, I don't think it's necessarily something that Scump would want to do unless he was, you know, convinced that the team would have some really solid success. And of course, the way that things were going lately, that was clearly not necessarily going to be easy. Apparently, there was also talk about Formal. I mean, look, he's playing Halo, so what else is he going to do realistically? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is ever massively going to happen, but it was something that was at least worth keeping in mind.
Steamster, can you confirm or deny that Scump was offered a contract to come back confirmed? I'll show you the text from Dashy. I'll read it exactly word for word what Dashy said. But it's, you know, when we started to look, Dashy texts me and says, you know what else would be legendary? The King returns. Let him know we need him. It's not elite, guys. I mean, every single time that I'm always trying to get him to play at least one tournament. And to be clear, I also hit up when was it?
But let's talk about the matches for today, because after the end of the day, there will only be 4 teams remaining in the tournament, and these are the 3 games that are going to be happening. So the 2 winners bracket games, Boston versus Surge, they go down. Now, I mean, who's going to win that? Honestly, who knows? Surge are definitely the favourites, for sure. Boston played, to me, I mean, I really like the Boston guys, but I think they played at the absolute ceiling of their capabilities against Thieves. And if they do that again, can they beat Surge? Absolutely, I think they can beat Surge. Will Surge, on the balance of probabilities, be the favoured team here? Yes, in my opinion. So I'm going to lean Surge's way. You know, I want to see what type of Boston turns up, because if they play as they did against Thieves, like 100%, they can make a deep run this tournament. But, you know, Surge, it's going to be exciting because that Surge versus FaZe winners finals, I mean, to see if they can replicate what happens online on LAN is a fascinating story of the major. My fear is that if Boston were to win, that they're not, you know, if they play FaZe, that their matchup there just historically is not good at all. Now, FaZe Cloud9, I don't think it's a guarantee that FaZe actually make it through to the winners final. I think they will. I'm picking them to win this. But, you know, Cloud9 could easily pull off a bit of an upset here, right? It's absolutely possible. They've been looking pretty strong. FaZe, I mean, look, their respawn and their search has been a little shaky. On LAN, I think it's going to be probably a FaZe win, but I'm going to take FaZe in 5. I think the Cloud9 will really turn up this series. So intrigue to your thoughts in the comments on that. Then the loser of FaZe Cloud9 plays Thieves. So that is the really big story, right? Because, you know, FaZe Cloud9 or Thieves, one of those is going out top 6. I mean, it's maybe not wow, like crazy, but you know what I mean, right? Because this is a massive elimination round 3 game. On the other side, OpTic Ultra basically kicks off the day, I think. Certainly it will, I think it's the first game of the day anyway. Yeah, OpTic versus Ultra, game 1 of the tournament today, because that's the next losers bracket game. This is going to be a difficult series for OpTic, I think there's no doubt. Will they win it? I don't know. Ultra are a strange team. I never know how to call their games. They got 3-0'd by Cloud9, but it was a super close 3-0. They're 3-0'd a terrible team, so it's like, who honestly knows at this point? I think it's a game 5, but I think I am going to lean the way of OpTic Texas, right? They've got this home crowd energy support, Pred with the energy on the main stage. It just kind of feels like they've got a little bit of momentum behind them right now, and, you know, when push comes to shove in a pressure moment, will Ultra clutch up? You know, I've got my concerns on that, and I have done for some time. So, you know, I'm taking OpTic to win that one. Then they'll play, presumably, you know, potentially Boston in the bracket, in which case, you know, it's definitely a really winnable series, right? So, like, if OpTic can beat Toronto, you know, they can make it to Sunday. I mean, they can make it, any team can make it to Sunday here. But it's not like they don't face FaZe or Cloud9, which I think would be the scarier side in many respects. So this is a crucial game. These are the games in order. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.